and 52% of them that time had flood insurance. So we're typically subsidizing freeloaders who don't even buy flood insurance to start out with, which is, I can't believe it. The first house that I owned, the bank said, your credit's good, we got you, we got your house plan, everything's good to go, but you want to live near a river, and just as soon as you bring me a flood insurance policy, we'll be happy to give you some money. Now, how is it I had to have an insurance policy in my hand before one piling was stuck in the ground?
Right.
But the beaches is covered with people.
Well, because it's economic development to build all over the beach.
Well, it just continues to amaze me.
Well, and here's what gets me, is if you'd remove all the structures and you just had a wild natural beach that shifted its shape every year, I guarantee you'd have people coming from all over to vacation there.
Well,
because where else do you find that?
We go back to Destin, Florida, and you have to have a road. You have to have a road map to find your way to get down to the beach.
They've junked it up to.
But to continue on with this, Lewis Cooper, and just to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, of course, Commissioner Gooden owns Holly Dirt Company. He does have a site in Santa Rosa in the Navarre area that does have white sand. It's interesting to me that in every other renourishment project that I've ever seen in my entire life, a dredge was brought in and you pump sand from offshore to renourish the beach. But
we've also seen MSBUs where the
locals pay for it.
People who live there have to pay for
it. And so we're doing it completely different, and now we've decided we're going to haul it in by trucks. You know, it's just a small job. It's just a $700,000 job. Here's my second soapbox. Ladies and gentlemen, times is hard. Income to the county tax rolls is low. We're talking about laying off people this year. We have already laid off people. We're going to lay off more people. They are quote unquote cutting services day in and day out. And this story tells the well, FEMA's going to pay for part of this.
Right.
But ladies and gentlemen, there's a 25% match from the county. We're going to have to come up with $173,000 out of the general fund to do this beach renourishment project.
Yes.
So, you know, here we're doing something that I'm adamantly opposed to. Then in a horrible financial year with no hope in sight for the next 2 or 3 years, we're okay with spending $173,000 out of the general fund to pay for this thing. And then on top of that, and look, I understand what the law says. The law says a commissioner as a subcontractor can do business with the county. What I have to say about that, and Mr. Cooper certainly reiterated the trip that Gordon Gooden made to the private island of local developer and the ethics issues involved in that. What I have to say about that is now really the best time in the world to get involved in something like this? I mean, it just, you know, it reeks to me.
And again, is Mr. Bill Pullum perhaps interested in donating some of the funding?
Exactly. Now, Mr. Dugan from the Pensacola News Journal, and I'll have to say that Reggie, most of the time, I certainly disagree with some of the stuff that you have in there. But you decided to take up the Gordon Gooden situation here. And he titled it, Gooden Bad.
Yes.
Santa Rosa County Commissioner Gordon Gooden is a good candidate to take a class in Ethics 101. Even though Gordon and the county attorney see nothing wrong with Gooden having a sand contract with the county that can make him $275,000, comma, it's wrong, period, pure and simple. Elected officials ought not to be doing business with the county in which they serve. Gooden even said it himself. Before he became a commissioner in 2002, Gordon said his business, Holly Dirt, regularly sold sand to the county. Quotations, once I became a commissioner, I had to discontinue any business relations with the county, he said. And Dugan goes on to say, well, why is it okay to start again? You know, and of course he reiterates also the free trip to the tropical island, and you know the ethics issue involved in all of that. And Reggie, I'll just have to tell you, I appreciate that, and certainly Lewis Cooper two good stories there. It just goes to show you, you know, I periodically have to wipe my eyes and look at some of this stuff. What can you possibly be thinking?
Well, and let me go back to the team issue again and tie this all together. If that had been a team board member, we would never have known about it.
Exactly. Behind closed doors.
We'd have no idea. And trust me, it's happened in the past.
I love this line here. Gooden seems to have learned nothing from the unethical trip to the sand and surf in the Caribbean. Now he wants to use some more sand in violation of good ethics. Well, Reggie certainly had a good sense of humor and all that. We need to kind of update on the prayer issue in Santa Rosa County. The employee Winkler went before the judge.
Yes.
She was potentially in contempt of court.
Right.
The judge looked at it and said because Winkler was a lower staff member,
yes,
who did not sign the dissent decree,
she was not in contempt.
She was not in contempt. The next phase of this will be Mr. Frank Lay and the athletic director. They have basically the same charge against them. They will be going before Judge Rogers, I believe, in the near future, and there will be a ruling on that.
I'd just like to, I think I'd like to make a comment just about that whole sort of oversight of these school employees in general. It really torques me off that on the one hand you have two employees who very clearly did something that it had been expressed they weren't supposed to do,
right,
and may likely end up costing taxpayers a lot of money in order to take care of all that stuff. And I don't want to see anybody lose their job, but I mean, there was not even a slap on the wrist. And then you turn around and you see somebody like Buddy Powell, who was the president, who was the principal of Milton High last year. Milton High students improved,
right,
in every area of the FCAT, and yet Buddy Powell ends up being transferred somewhere else. And I can tell you that from what I've understood behind the scenes, there were a lot of politics involved with that.
right.
I mean, that's the reason I think that people need to get out and pay attention to the school board and, run for the school board. Get rid of some of the deadwood in the school board. There's a lot of deadwood. These people are directly impacting our kids and our kids' education. And my question is, what are they thinking about with some of these decisions they're making at the school board? Nobody's paying attention to what they're doing.
It does seem a little odd that you have, whether you for or against prayer in school,
right,
it has been a high cost. It has been a distraction, and you basically don't take any action there.
Right.
And then over here, you summarily discharge and get pretty ugly in the
yes,
news media about it.
So, somebody who was a very good principal at Milton High. I just have to question the priorities of the sitting members of the school board at this point. I really wonder at their priorities.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have an election coming up.
Yes, we do.
So sign up and get ready to run. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Good night.